'Neath the high desert of northern New Mexico lies a story that has circulated for decades at the edges of official denial and underground belief. It is a story of a hidden facility, of alleged cooperation between human authorities and non-human intelligences, and of events said to have unfolded far below the surface of the earth. The narrative blends claims of secret installations, genetic experimentation, and violent confrontation into one of the most enduring and controversial legends in modern UFO history. This is the Dulce Base Conspiracy. Neath the windswept plateau of Archuleta Mesa, near the small town of Dulce, New Mexico, there exists one of the most persistent and unsettling legends in modern UFO lore. According to long-standing accounts circulating within fringe literature, this remote region conceals an immense underground facility, a secret so tightly guarded that its very existence is denied by official sources. Story first took shape in the late 20th century when American businessman and amateur investigator Paul Benowitz became convinced he was intercepting electronic communications from extraterrestrial craft in the skies above Albuquerque, eventually concluding that his data pointed to an extensive subterranean installation near Dulce itself. By the late 1980s, this narrative had woven together UFO sightings, curious aerial lights, and reports of anomalous cattle deaths into a tapestry of speculation unprecedented in its breadth and ambition. Within the broader community of UFOologists and conspiracy theorists, Dulce Base is described not merely as a hidden shelter or military bunker, but as a deeply layered complex where human and non-human intelligences are said to operate side by side. Some tellers of the tale envisage a facility with multiple underground levels, each with distinct functions ranging from housing and command to genetics laboratories and alien habitation chambers, alleged zones of activity that would dwarf anything publicly acknowledged by official programs. Rumors even suggest connections to larger clandestine networks, with secret tube or shuttle links between Dulce and other supposed subterranean sites across the world. Whether viewed as a hub of alien-human cooperation, or as a subterranean nightmare of genetic hybridity, Dulce Base has become emblematic of the idea that some secrets don't stay underground by accident. Stories surrounding Dulce Base invariably converge on claims of alien experimentation, a realm where the boundary between biology and myth blurs into profound unease. Central to these narratives are accounts of laboratories hidden deep below the mesa, where beings often described as greys and sometimes reptilians carry out research on both animals and humans. According to these versions of events, the facility's corridors and chambers are sites of genetic manipulation, where human subjects and livestock are allegedly dissected and studied for purposes unspoken and unknown. These claims draw on a mixture of second-hand testimony, interpreted symbols, and fringe literature, rather than any publicly verified documentation, yet they have become central to the Dulce mythos. Within this framework, cattle mutilations reported in the region take on an ominous significance. Some UFO researchers link these unexplained events to Dulce's subterranean labs, arguing that the precision of certain carcass findings points to non-terrestrial activity. Reports from the investigative circles have included references to anomalous marks, supposed traces of unusual substances, and patterns inconsistent with known predators or natural causes. Whether these conclusions reflect misinterpretations of local biological phenomena or the beginnings of something further removed from conventional science remains a matter of debate, but the narratives themselves have acquired a life of their own within the lore. In more elaborate versions of this legend, these experiments are not limited to passive observation, but extend into realms most audiences would find deeply disturbing. Allegations include human abduction, forced tissue sampling, and exotic research aimed at producing hybridized life forms, entities combining human and non-human genetic traits. Descriptions of such beings vary widely, but the recurring theme is a violation of natural order in service of inscrutable purposes. One frequently cited description involves hybrid entities said to resemble humans altered in proportion and expression, figures described as outwardly human enough to be recognizable, yet marked by elongated limbs, enlarged craniums, and eyes described as oversized or reflective. In these accounts, the unsettling quality is not monstrosity, but familiarity, the sense that the beings occupy an uncomfortable middle ground between human and non-human, as though identity itself had been partially erased and reassembled. Witnesses who relay these claims often emphasize the absence of emotion or individuality, portraying the entities as biological constructs rather than persons. Another, darker strain of the legend speaks of failed or incomplete forms, organisms allegedly kept alive despite severe physiological instability. These beings are described as non-viable hybrids, unable to function independently, existing only within controlled environments. In this version of the narrative, the horror lies not in aggression, but in implication, experimentation conducted without regard or continuity, consent, or outcome, producing life forms whose sole purpose was study. Such accounts frame Dulce not as the site of discovery, but as a place where boundaries were crossed repeatedly, and where creation itself was treated as provisional. Whether conceived as crude exaggeration or as coded metaphors for real fears about scientific overreach, these elements contribute to Dulce's reputation as a place where the normal rules of biology are alleged to have been suspended. Interwoven with these experimental claims are reports of mind control technologies and psychological manipulation techniques allegedly tested on base subjects. Fringe narratives posit that Dulce's operators, whether extraterrestrial, military, or some hybrid authority, apply methods designed to influence human cognition, memory, and behavior. Though such claims remain entirely within the realm of unverified speculation, they mirror broader anxieties about covert influence, unseen power structures, and the extent to which individuals can be shaped or controlled without their awareness. These elements, while uncorroborated, have become staple pieces of the Dulce-based conspiracy story, adding layers of menace and mystery to an already labyrinthine mythos. The most dramatic and infamous aspect of the Dulce-based lore is the alleged underground battle between humans and non-human beings, a confrontation said to have occurred in the late 1970s during construction of the facility. According to these accounts, a government engineer named Phil Schneider claimed to have been directly involved in drilling operations at Dulce and to have encountered non-human entities deep below the surface. In his telling, the encounter escalated rapidly into a violent confrontation, resulting in significant casualties on both sides and leaving Schneider himself grievously injured. This story, circulated widely in fringe circles, stands as the centerpiece of the so-called Dulce War. a narrative thread that has propelled the legend from mere hidden base rumor to something resembling a subterranean conflict epic. Opponents of the Dulce battle narrative describe the conflict as a defensive action by human forces startled by the presence of non-human beings, with weapons deployed and lives lost amid the steel and concrete of an unseen war zone. Claims vary on the number of casualties, but some versions speak of dozens of dead scientists, military personnel, and non-human combatants caught in the crossfire. Whether viewed as metaphor, folklore, or psychological projection, or unexamined rumor, the tale of the underground battle at Dulce Base persists precisely because it defies easy categorization. It straddles the line between history and mythic confrontation, inviting believers to imagine what might be lurking beneath the mesa, while skeptics see a cautionary example of how extraordinary claims can outpace evidence. What is undisputed is the cultural impression these narratives have made. Dulce Base remains one of the most discussed, most elaborated, and most enigmatic legends in UFO lore. That concludes this entry, but every shadow leads to another trace, and every trace to another unanswered question. If you want the next case as soon as it resurfaces, stay with us. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and step back into the dark with Noctombre.